What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we're breaking down a conversation between Lee Peterson and Starlet Quarrels. And let me tell you, it hits everything. Race, marriage, education, accountability, and all the social landmines in between. We're going to pause it, rewind it, and actually analyze what's being said. Not just the feelings, but the logic. Or lack of it. Quick disclaimer. This video is for commentary, criticism, and educational discussion under fair use. The views expressed by the individuals featured do not necessarily reflect my own. If you enjoy honest breakdowns, uncomfortable conversations, and calling things exactly as they are, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment, because this one gets interesting fast. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Fallen State. I'm Lee Peterson. I want to know how we can help Black Americans have better futures. I have with me, my guest today is Starlet Quarrels. She's the president of Urban X Marketing and radio host of The Dialogue.
The Dialogue.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
I totally appreciate it.
I appreciate you inviting me.
Do you believe that we are born in a fallen state?
What are you defining as a fallen state?
Fallen away from God.
Not necessarily. I think there's a lot of evil in the world. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. But I think, especially when you're talking about Black people, I mean, we're just a spiritual people.
Black people are?
Yes. Yes, I believe you are very spiritual.
And are they in a fallen state? Not all, but most, meaning that have they fallen away from God?
To a certain degree, yes. I believe the baby boomer generation, in terms of the church, I think the church has failed this generation, actually. I grew up where there was still a moral compass in the family. There was still a moral compass being portrayed in media and on television. So I think we're doing this generation a grave disservice by not being more spiritually connected.
So you can overcome that fallen state, right?
Of course you can overcome
it.
You can overcome it in your home.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's right. What happened to Black Americans, not all, but most, that they fell away from God and now they're just out there?
I think it's the hypocrisy in the Black church. That has, especially for my generation. I think in my parents' generation, the church was very integral in the community. I think it kept us mobilized. I think it kept the family intact. And somewhere that generation failed, I think, at least from my perspective. They don't teach you how to be Christ-like.
Yeah.
And you see the hypocrisy. You see the prosperity movement in terms of just talking about being prosperous versus helping one another and embracing other cultures and being closer to God.
When I was growing up, we didn't rely on the church to do that. It was the father and mother doing that. So what happened to the homes that, you have 72% of Black babies born out of wedlock, because they're the ones who are setting up the children to fail in life. If you notice, most of the kids are angry today, and the fathers are not around, so it's the mothers and grandmothers who are making them angry. She's passing their anger down to the children. What happened to the parents that they decided not to do it right?
I don't think that they didn't decide to do it right. I think it's just a reflection of institutionalized racism.
Well, for a second there, I really thought we were going to make it 3 whole minutes before the institutionalized racism card hit the table. Progress. Almost. Jesse opens with the lack of fathers in the home argument, and boom, instant knee-jerk defense mode activated. No pause, no reflection, just straight to the talking points. And here's the fun part. Jesse's not arguing, he's guiding. He's letting her walk right down a debate path he's already jogged, sprinted, and taken a victory lap on. She's leaning hard on the degree. He's leaning on life experience. And let me tell you, that diploma is about to meet its match.
To the extent that our heads of households are being incarcerated, there aren't men in the homes to be able to balance the strength of Black women. So we get branded with being angry, but we have to be able to fill 2 roles. And I think that Black men are targeted, and I think that they have not been able to be embraced. But that's been since slavery. And we all know that the heads of households are our men. So to the extent that there's not a man in the household and they're being raised by music or television, I mean, I grew up when there was just Benny Hill. Do you remember Benny Hill?
I do.
Okay, so Benny Hill had coconuts, right? So these kids see the real.
So you're saying that institutionalized racism is causing Black people to have babies out of wedlock?
I don't think it's causing black people to have babies out of wedlock. I think it's impacted the stability of the black family and taking the black man out of the household, and in the media and just what people are portraying and in the music and what these kids are seeing. They're not seeing a two-parent. I mean, I grew up, grandfather and grandmother had 16 kids. They stayed married until death do they part. So I'm from Los Angeles, so we don't see often in my adult life, I have yet to date a man that comes from a two-parent household, but
That's
I grew
amazing.
up. Isn't it? It's sad, actually.
I grew up under the Jim Crow laws down in Alabama on a plantation, and during those days, less than 10% of black babies were born out of wedlock because black people were getting married, they had families, and things were rougher then for them than they are today. So if it has anything to do with slavery or racism, why do we see it more back then than we do today?
I think it's just an intergenerational curse, an intergenerational effect. So it's more than just slavery, it's just Jim Crow. And again, the media has a very, very strong impact. Kids are sponges, so they see reality TV shows and they have some of these rappers having 5, 6, 7 different moms and different kids, and it's being glamorized, and it starts in the home. Family starts in the home. So if the conversations aren't happening in the home, then we're doing our kids a disservice.
If black people were a moral people, would they be affected by prisons and jails and so-called racism?
What do you mean by, I think we are moral people? What do you mean? I just think the church hasn't done its job.
But you don't need the church to be a moral person. You're like already moral because you have good parents who are moral parents, and they're setting that example for you. And so it demonstrates that the parents are no good. The fathers and mothers are immoral people, and they are setting there, by example, setting that up for their children. And so when you go off to church, it's the responsibility of the preacher to correct that by telling the people you need to turn back to God.
I don't think that the parents are immoral. Yes, and I do believe that it starts in the home.
Yeah.
Just as wealth, the lessons of wealth and money are taught in the home. What I think is that my generation have strayed away from the church because of what we've seen in terms of just the hypocrisy, in terms of people not being Christ-like. I think I would consider my generation more spiritual, but there's still peer pressure, there's still media influence. I mean, you can be a great parent at home and your kids still, because of peer pressure, go out and do something, or because of the music that they hear.
But if they were moral people, they would not be having children out of wedlock.
That's not necessarily true.
No, moral people don't have out of wedlock children. And so,
I disagree.
And the mothers would not be passing their anger down to their children.
I don't think mothers are passing down their
anger. No, they are.
The
kids, the anger that you see.
I'm not saying that there aren't isolated instances.
No, majority of them are doing that.
But generalizing black women, I don't think they pass down their anger to their children.
The fathers are not there, you agree, right?
I do agree that some fathers are not in the home.
So then the anger has to be coming from the mothers if the fathers are not there.
Not necessarily. It could be coming from school. It could be coming from...
Well, that's to add on to, because their mothers and grandmothers have set them up. Black mothers and grandmothers, not all, are mean people.
All right, let me jump in real quick just to recap. So, it's the church's fault. But wait, people don't go to church. Okay, pivot. Maybe it's the music's fault. Ooh, nope. Can't blame black entertainment. Abort mission. So where do we go next? Oh, of course, the schools. Because when in doubt, just spin the blame wheel and see where it lands. At this point, she's being dragged out to sea by the accountability undertow. Arms flailing, logic slipping, desperately reaching for any lifeline that doesn't involve personal responsibility.
They have no patience, they have no love, they're imposing, and they traumatize their children by being that way.
I don't think that black women are mean people. I think that we have to be able to be
disciplined. You lucked out because you had a father.
We're disciplinarians.
You lucked out because you had a father. Your father protected you from your mother, so you don't know how black mothers can be.
That's not true. My mother was the one who primarily raised us. My father was an excellent provider. I mean, he was an entrepreneur. So in terms of my everyday lifestyle, my mother was a very integral part in terms of my...
Right, but your father protected you from her anger, right?
No, why do you need to protect her? If I was wrong, then she had the right to be mad at me. Why should she have to protect? If I'm doing wrong and my mother disciplined me, then why should he protect her from disciplining me?
Because
I wasn't abused.
It's the father's responsibility to stand between the mother and children.
You act like black women can't be angry. Why can't we show anger?
Because anger is of your father, the devil. It's not good. There's no love in anger, and anger separates you from God. And so when you discipline your children, you discipline them with the nature of your father, the devil, who is lack love. No one who has anger has love.
I disagree. I
You
believe
do?
that, yes, because I love a whole lot of people and I get angry sometimes. I'm human.
But then you
Things make
don't
me
love them
mad.
with real love. You
That's
love
not
them with the love,
true.
that fallen state of love.
I disagree. I
Yeah.
believe that you can still be angry and still be able to have the capacity to love somebody.
So then why are so many black children coming out of these homes angry at their mothers and grandmothers?
I don't know that all black children are coming out
Not
of their
all,
homes.
not all, not all, not all, but most.
So what are you defining as angry? How do you know that they're angry? What are they doing to display their anger?
They're acting just like their parents. They lack patience. They are joining gangs and doing drugs, and they don't respect the elderly anymore. They are ending up in jails and prisons around the country. They are attacking white Americans. They have no patience, and
not all black children are
they're
doing
attacking
that.
other blacks, and that's coming from the home, from the
But
mother.
that's coming from their socioeconomics.
No.
That's not necessarily coming from the home. I'm sure there are some good mothers at home.
There are some.
There's a lot of good black mothers at home.
Where are they?
What are you talking about? They're down the street. They're around the corner. Where have you been?
I would like to do a town hall meeting with these good black mothers that don't have anger and have their children here. I guarantee
So
you.
if a mother didn't have anger and their child did something that was wrong, or what would you prefer she do?
She would be able to discipline them with real love, which would not traumatize them. She would be
So you
able
must
to.
think, did you get whippings growing up?
I did.
Okay. Did that stop you from doing certain things? I'm not saying beating.
No, I'm not.
But
I'm
even
not
the
saying
Bible
that they
says spare the
shouldn't.
rod. You're not
Right,
supposed to spare
but
the
you
rod.
have to have the right spirit, and most black mothers today don't have the right spirit.
That's not true.
They're
Where
angry.
are you getting your information from? How do you know about all black women's spirit?
Well, I didn't say all. You keep throwing in all.
But you're generalizing. You're saying
Most.
black women.
Most, not all, not all, not all, but
Okay,
most.
okay.
Recently, you gave a TED talk.
A TEDx talk.
Yeah, TEDx talk
Crenshaw.
on gentrification.
I did.
In the Crenshaw area of Los Angeles. What is that? What is gentrification?
Gentrification is the process of renewal and rebuilding that unfortunately sometimes displaces families.
And who are doing this?
Who's doing what?
Gentrification.
I don't think it's just a general person or general group of people, but it's just the development process. It's just, along Crenshaw, there was a train coming, as you know, the Expo line, so that causes the rebirth of renewal and wanting to redevelop around this transit-oriented development. So if you don't own your real estate and you're a renter, unfortunately, you may get displaced if that property owner decides to sell their property. And that's how people get displaced. I'm not saying that
It's
wasn't
not a negative thing then, right?
It could have some negative connotations depending on if things were taken. Historically there have been properties taken by eminent domain from the state. It doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing. The purpose of my TEDx talk was for my generation to see it more as something to capitalize on and to strategize around, because real estate is a cyclical market, so gentrification is going to happen.
Yeah.
So because we knew that this train was coming, we should have been buying up property in Inglewood a long time ago.
That's right.
So it's about playing the game and understanding the game, and I think that that's something that was not passed down intergenerationally either. We were taught to go to school and work for people, not necessarily to be the natural entrepreneurs that we are.
One thing I noticed about, and I liked about your TED talk about this subject, is that you were not blaming it on white people, whereas many black people tend to call it racism, and they're complaining that white people are doing this to them, coming in, buying up property and raising the rent. As a matter of fact, I asked my producer to define that for me, and that's what he said. And he's a white guy. There he is over there, way in the back.
Well, the Wikipedia definition, but if you look at the Webster definition, there is no culture attached to the process of gentrification.
I like that. You're the first black person I heard define it in that way. Because I said, what is gentrification? It's when white people move into the black community, they buy out the property, they raise the rent.
That's not necessarily true. Gentrification is a process of renewal and rebuilding. And if you look at some of the urban dictionaries or the recent dictionary, it's defined as the process of moving black people out. But the only way that black people can move out is if they sell to somebody that's not black. What ends up happening in black communities is that we don't value our property nor our family legacy. So we look to leave the community. We look to sell to the highest bidder versus being cognizant about who our buyer is or who we're selling to. I'm not saying don't sell, but if you sell, think about selling to somebody black.
Wait, did this educated real estate expert, TED Talk talking intellectual just suggest that black people should only sell their homes to other black people? You heard that too, right? So let me get this straight. Black families, the few that do own homes, should not sell to white families, even if those buyers are offering a higher price. First of all, that's not legal. Second of all, how on earth do you say you want black families to build intergenerational wealth, and in the very next breath tell them to turn down more money when selling their biggest asset? That logic is so twisted, so acrobatic, so detached from reality, not even Simone Biles could stick the landing on those mental gymnastics.
Black.
Are you attacked for not blaming it on racism, this gentrification thing? Are you attacked for just saying it's the lack of knowing how to do business?
I haven't been attacked, and maybe that's just because of people who know me know that I speak from the legacy of a real estate development family, and I understand the process of real estate development and how politics intertwine with the changing of our landscapes. However, as I said in my TEDx talk, that even though we are builders and we build for black people and in black communities, that doesn't mean that we haven't met with opposition from our own people. So part of my challenge in building in my community with my people is that they still have this relationship with the development community. So we're not looking to displace anyone. We're looking to provide home ownership opportunities.
And you were fortunate in that your father was in business. He's a smart man, and he was always in business. So it seemed as though you picked that up from him, whereas a lot of blacks don't have that.
I picked it up from him by osmosis.
Right, I remember you saying that, yeah.
Because I often tell people my father sent me to UCLA to find a husband. You know, so by the time I got in grad school, he didn't necessarily raise me and my sister to be in the business like you see with, for instance, with Trump, and how he consciously raised his daughter and his sons to understand the real estate development industry. And it wasn't until I was in a PhD program in industrial organizational psychology and someone gave me Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I read that and understood the concept of wealth and intergenerational wealth and asset accumulation. And then I quit grad school and I got the master's. I wasn't crazy.
Right.
And I started working with my father. So he wasn't cognizant, but I just blamed that on, not even necessarily blame that, he's just as a product of his parents, right? You want to raise your daughters to be these domestic goddesses when he didn't realize that he gave birth to two entrepreneurs.
Are you married?
Nope.
Have you ever been married?
I have not.
Do you want to be married?
I used to.
Do you want to now?
I want to be in a long-term relationship.
Does that mean include marriage?
That doesn't necessarily include marriage.
So you want to be with a man but not married to him?
It depends on his concept of marriage. I'm a rarity, and I realize that I'm a rarity in terms of coming from a two-parent household and understanding and seeing the value. So I look for implants from some country town where they know the value of families.
Would you change your title?
If I got married, I would become the wife.
Right, and would you stay home?
No.
You would not stay home?
No.
You would let your kids suffer?
I wouldn't have any kids. I don't have any kids.
Would you have kids if you got married?
No.
You would not?
No.
Well, there's no need to get married then.
You asked me the question. I told you I don't want to get married
so
at the beginning.
You don't want kids?
I'm not right now, no.
Is someone dated? Have you ever dated?
Don't I look like I've dated? Yes, I'm not a nun.
I'm sorry?
I'm not a nun. Of course I've dated.
And so are you a difficult person to date?
No, I'm not a difficult person. No, I don't think I'm difficult at all.
You're not
I think I bring a lot of value to the table.
With the men who have dated you, think that you're difficult?
No, I think some of the men who date independent, successful.
Oh, that word.
Wait.
There's that word.
Wait a second.
Whenever a woman says independent, that means she's difficult.
I'm not difficult. You didn't let me finish the question.
Go ahead.
And so you already have a perception of what it means to be
when a woman says I'm independent and strong,
trust me,
is
I am
word.
looking for the Clyde to my body. I believe in the power couple. That's all I've seen my entire life. But it depends on how he sees my role as a wife. If he sees me as a domestic goddess, then yeah, we're going to have a problem. Because that's not who I am. When you met me at the age that I am, I wasn't that. So if he has kids, great. I don't mind being the stepmom. But I'm not looking to, give birth now. I mean, that doesn't mean that I don't.
Do your father know you think this way?
Of course he knows I think that way.
He does know this?
Of course he knows.
And is he disappointed?
Of course. I mean, he wants to extend his legacy, but he has two other kids.
So does he regret sending you to school because the school messed you up like this?
No, school did not mess me up.
Who messed you up like this?
First of all, I don't think I messed up. First first of all, but I think that I've had men who've, let me finish my question.
Okay.
So I look for my Jay-Z, and I'm just using that, figuratively.
Jay-Z.
Wait a second, whoa, slow your roll.
Not a good example.
Okay, I'm just talking about in terms of a power couple. Let me just say that.
Okay.
You want me to say Michelle and Obama? I'm looking for my Obama. Okay. What's gonna make you feel warm and fuzzy? I'm trying to just make you understand.
You're naming all the weak men.
They're not weak. Anyway, so no, I am looking for a partner, right? Because I believe marriage is
another
a partnership.
bad word.
Wait a second. If you look at, as an adult, I went back and I saw and I'm not sitting here to proclaim to be a Bible scholar, but I reread, Proverbs on the virtuous woman. Right? And isn't that supposed to be God's ideal couple? So
yes.
She was an entrepreneur. I mean, was not a domestic goddess. She woke up, she took care of the breakfast, she got the kids ready for school, and the housekeeper took care of the kids and did the domestic stuff. She went in the back, she
Lord.
did her sewing, she went into the market and she sold it, and she brought her home the money back to her husband. He was a leader in the community. So she was not necessarily, the Bible doesn't depict the virtuous woman as a domestic goddess.
That's amazing what people do with the Bible. So let me ask.
This is how I read it.
So when you're like alone at night after you did your little power meetings and you went out.
Why is it power? It really was power. Why you gotta do it like that?
And you're alone at night.
I'm never alone at night. And I'm not saying that I'd always have somebody, but I don't necessarily have to have, I have a huge family. I am the second eldest of 80 first generation grandkids.
But you don't ever long for the love of a husband?
For a husband or for companionship are two different things.
But if it's not your husband, it's not real love. Do you long for the husband, the love of a husband?
Do I long for the love of a husband? Not necessarily a husband, and I don't long for, a man. The Bible said he who finds, so I'm not looking for anything. I'm waiting for him to find me, the right man. I only need one. So
you would live with a man and you would do the whole sex thing and everything without being married to him?
I could do that.
You would do that? But you're a Christian, how can you do that?
Just because I'm a Christian doesn't mean, you think I'm going to hell because I cohabitate with somebody that I'm not married to?
Nobody goes against what God, as his daughter, what he would want you to do.
He does talk about marriage.
Why would you disobey your father?
I'm not saying that I wouldn't, but I would be open.
But you already have your mind made up. That's what you're looking for. You want a man, but you don't want to marry him. Wait, you're putting words into my mouth. But you would tell me what I want. What I want. You want a man that you don't have to marry, and you want to sex. And I said I was open to it. I said, but if his philosophy, if you're in alignment, if we equally yoked, and we're on the same page, and we have the same life philosophy as it relates to religion and business, and we complement each other, then yeah, you know what? That's not a marriage. That is a marriage. A marriage is a partnership. I don't need for somebody to raise me. I need for somebody to help sustain my family legacy and to help build it. Does white privilege exist? Absolutely. It does. Absolutely. And where's the proof of that? All around. I tell people often now, in hindsight, one of the things that I wish I would have been more cognizant of was the white privilege at UCLA that was sitting, right next to me. For black people, I believe white privilege is something to leverage. What is it though? I don't see it anywhere. What is it? What is it? How don't you? For people like me who don't see it. How do you not see white privilege? Because it doesn't exist. Yes, it does. What is it exactly? I believe white privilege is just the ability just to be free and white and not have the same type of social, economic, and social ills as black people have to deal with. I mean, there's no white racial profiling. White people don't get pulled over by the cops just because they're white. They have the ability to, show emotion and love to their sons without being emasculated. There's all kind of examples of white privilege. You absolutely. Why don't you black? How come you don't believe white privilege exists? What you see? Well, because I am black in color, but I don't have that dark mentality that most black people have. Clearly. I see, she said clearly, I see that white people have the same struggles and things that we have in that. What type of struggles do they have? They have to make their marriages work. They have to make their children, help their kids grow up in the right way so that they can earn a living and be independent. But they also have the majority of their fathers at home. Right, and the reason for that is starting to change somewhat now, but the reason for that is because they are taking responsibility for that, whereas black men and women are not taking responsibility for that as they did prior to the civil rights movement. Black people are blaming it on their lack of self-control and self-containment. They're blaming it on white people, while white people are working hard to keep it going.
I do
for
believe
themselves.
that there is a need for Black people to be held more accountable.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that doesn't excuse racism, that doesn't excuse institutionalized racism, that doesn't excuse...
But there's no such thing as that.
Yes,
it's an illusion made
No,
up by Black people and their leaders.
No, it's not. It exists.
Oh, she was so close. She actually said black people need to be held accountable, and then immediately wrapped it up in racist white slices of bread. An accountability sandwich, if you will. And no, I'm not surprised she's not married. No kids. She'll say it's by choice. And you know what? She's right. Her choices. The choice to argue instead of listen. Lead instead of follow. Be religious. But only the parts that are convenient. This isn't some mystery. This is the predictable end result of modern feminism. Confidence without humility. Conviction without accountability.
Well,
Sorry.
where's the proof of it, though?
What do you mean, where's the proof of it?
There are many kids who are getting into, black kids who are allowed to get into these universities around the country, right, based on affirmative action. And because of affirmative action based on their color. That's discrimination based on color, and that's wrong. And these kids are getting in, but they're not earning their way. So when they fail, they feel less than before they were allowed to get in based on color.
I'm a proud product of affirmative action. When I went to UCLA, it was because I was an affirmative action student.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And I think I turned out fantastic. So a lot of my peers who were having challenges getting into some of these predominantly white institutions, the affirmative action was great. My father went to Harvard. You know, he was one of very few blacks.
Was he affirmative action person?
I don't know if he was. That was back in the late 60s.
Well, then he wasn't. He earned his way.
So, that being said, I still believe that affirmative action helped me get into UCLA, and it gave me access.
You would
and
not
exposure.
have gotten in there on your own because you were not smart enough?
I don't know if I wasn't smart enough, but based on the curve and what I was competing with you know, other individuals who had different educational opportunities and teachers. I mean, I'm coming from, you know, the LA Unified School District. I mean, so at the time, I think LAUSD was still pretty good. But I went to all white schools from high school up through college. So
you got a good education. Why couldn't you get into the school based on your own talent?
Sorry to interrupt again, but just look at that face. That's the exact moment she realizes she's ensnared in the DEI web. Jesse didn't push her, didn't rush her. He just let her walk right in. And now she's going to struggle, twist, and tie herself into even more knots trying to get out. You can almost hear the gears grinding.
I don't know. Well,
you had the same opportunity those white kids were having.
Not necessarily. I had different teachers. I had different resources.
So you went to a white integrated school.
I'm talking about
mostly
going
white.
into these other, into UCLA. I still had to be able to deal with some of the issues and going to predominantly white schools.
Like
but
what?
I still had to be able to compete.
Like what?
What do you mean, like what?
Some of the issues going to a predominantly
I would graduate from University High School, and at the time they didn't have an African American student union.
An African American student union?
At the school.
Well, that's a good thing.
They didn't have one.
That's a good thing.
Why?
Why do you need something like that?
They have Asian student unions. They have Jewish student unions. They have all kind of different.
Did they have white
unions.
student union?
They need student union. They own the whole school. So
but the kids didn't own the school. The kids didn't.
But I'm saying there's nothing. I don't think there's nothing wrong with having a segregated, population of students who just want to study together, or work together, or to be able to.
Would you be in support of a white student union?
Yeah, of course.
It would be okay with you?
Yeah, why not?
But most blacks don't feel that way.
I think all cultures should be able to segregate and to be able to work within their cultures and network within their own cultures. Absolutely.
Does racism exist?
I believe racism does exist.
And where's the proof of that?
You just see it all over in the country. We're proof of it. In terms of just
what do I see?
Disproportionate in the economics with black people.
But that has nothing to do with racism.
It does. Racism is about power. It's about who is in control. And black people can't be racist because we're not in control. We're not in control of the educational system, some of the social organizations and things that run this country. We're not in control. Racism is about power.
But you would be in control of your own life if you had good parents, if they taught you how to be independent, if they taught you how to build, how to take care of, I've noticed that the reason I left where I lived over there in the Crenshaw district is that once the white people left, because once I moved there, when I first moved there, it was mostly whites. But once they left, as they did in Gary, Indiana, and other places, the blacks turned it into a ghetto. A beautiful area went to hell in a handbasket, so I got out. But if blacks had more character and they were taking care of themselves and being responsible and buying land and teaching their children,
that has to be taught.
Then right, so that has nothing to do with racism.
But that has to.
They don't know. But that's not white people's fault, though.
But if they go into some of these institutions, these predominantly white institutions, they are targeted. They don't have the same opportunities because of their color. It's true. I mean,
so then why go in there then? Why not go to all black school if you feel that?
Some people do choose to do that.
I'm sorry?
Some people do choose. That's
well, why you see a lot of these black kids going to these white universities, and then they force their way in by saying, I need affirmative action. Once they get in, now they crying racism. Why do you want to force your way in with the people you think are your enemies, and you're still complaining once you get there?
I don't think people are forcing their way. Does
affirmative
action even exist?
Is forced based on color.
Does affirmative action even exist? Are people getting in based on affirmative action?
Yes.
Today,
otherwise they wouldn't be there.
The way Trump has it down, he's just leveled the playing field. So it is going to have to be more about being able to be competitive.
Hallelujah. Aren't you happy about that?
To a certain extent, I think that Trump is going to force the black people to think more culturally and to think about mobilizing our resources and having to be able to compete. There's nothing wrong with competition. This whole
I don't think he's going to get them to think culturally. I think he's going to get them to think independently and work hard and save their money and do the right thing and sell your product to anyone, not so-called black dollars or anything like that. But when you have a product, you sell it to anyone.
But I think that there's a value in recycling black dollars just in terms of the economics. I'm not saying you can't sell to other cultures, but I think it's vital that we continue to recycle our dollars in our own communities.
But don't you think something is wrong with black people that you have to tell them that? You don't have to tell any other race. You don't have to say recycle white dollars or Mexican dollars.
Because it's ingrained culturally for them to do that. So
and black people used to have that too, prior to the civil rights movement.
Like I talked about in my TEDx talk, you know what I mean, in terms of Black Wall Street. But that's something that was not passed down intergenerationally. I wish, the lessons of Black Wall Street were passed down intergenerationally so that we would think to own the real estate in which we operate our businesses. If there were more people that would do it. I want to ask, are you, as an entrepreneur, are you glad that Donald Trump is president now? Not necessarily.
You're not?
Not necessarily because I'm not. I mean, I could recognize the benefits as an entrepreneur, but I'm not necessarily happy that he's our president.
What benefits as an entrepreneur, do you see as a result of President Trump being there?
I mean, to me, I tell people, just in my personal opinion, that Trump is not someone to get emotional around, but to strategize around. I think he's going to benefit small businesses and real estate, so get in his lane.
That's right. And so were you disappointed that Barack Obama was there for 8 years and things got worse rather than getting better? You were not able to do that, and he was a so-called black president. He was black and white. But were you disappointed in him that he didn't have it in him to do that?
I absolutely was not disappointed. As a matter of fact, I miss Obama.
You miss him?
I did. We held a fundraiser for him.
You miss Obama?
I did. We held a fundraiser.
In a good way?
I do, yes, absolutely.
Meaning that you're happy he's gone, as I am?
I'm not happy that he's gone.
He was the worst president that this country has ever experienced.
No, I mean, that's your personal opinion, and I respect that. I love what he represented.
What did he represent?
I mean, just in terms of just being the first black president.
Oh, Jesus, that don't mean nothing.
To me, it meant a lot. I loved the image that him and Michelle gave in terms of just the black family, them just
But
being
Michelle
from
was the ruler over him.
She was not the ruler. Do you have proof of that?
Did you ever see Michelle?
Just because she looks a certain way.
I saw that you saw it.
No, that's just my reaction.
I saw that you saw what I meant.
No, I didn't know what you meant. Just because she was, what did she look like in order to rule over him? Because she was black and she had what? What made him her ruler?
Hard looking, tough.
No, she was not hard looking. She was not hard looking.
I saw her the other day in her fro.
And?
Different story than what she had, the hair she had on in the White House.
You saw my picture. I had a perm. Now I got braids.
President Trump is going to put a big, beautiful wall around the borders because illegals are coming in and they are hurting black people first and foremost, and that they're moving into their communities, they're taking the jobs, they're bringing violence, crime, and drugs.
Not all.
They
Not
hate
all.
black people. They're
No, 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 they
supported by the
don't.
drug cartels. Are you happy that the president is putting this big, beautiful wall around the borders?
Irrespective of whether it happens or not, I don't have an opinion about that.
But you have to notice that especially in that area where your father's buildings are, or built the buildings, the Mexicans, the illegal aliens, are taking over those areas. And at Crenshaw and Manual Arts and those high schools in the area, there are fights every day between blacks and Mexicans because the black kids are feeling pushed out.
I don't think necessarily black people left because of Hispanics.
So you're not bothered about what's happening with the blacks as a result of Hispanics coming in? You're not bothered by that?
I don't know exactly what the Hispanics, when they come in, that they're doing specifically to black people.
What is the state of black women in your generation? They can't find husbands. They have to go and get jobs on their own, those who are working. They have these babies, they have to provide for themselves, and they are perceived as angry women.
You date black women?
Yeah, when I date black women.
You say you date black women.
Yes.
And you say that so why are you continuing to date black women?
Because I know how to deal with them. I know how to show them how to overcome that anger. I'm not afraid of them.
Okay.
And I realize that they're
So
angry.
if they had more men like you in the home who could, then yeah, I mean, I think there is going to be, some sense of strength in that. But remember too, we were getting beaten and whipped in slavery too. So that our femininity was beaten
You were getting
out of.
what?
We were getting beaten and raped.
When did you get beat?
I'm just talking about culturally.
Who beat you?
Our slave masters. You were born on a plantation. I'm sure they got you.
No.
I'm sure they.
Blacks
Sure they
were better
tapped up on
when
you
it
a little
comes
bit.
to when it comes to morality, when it comes to marriages, lack of abortions, treating people the way that they would like to be treated, owning property, getting education, getting a good education in black universities and black schools. Blacks were better off then than they are today.
I do believe that integration was probably one of the worst things that happened to black people.
And why I agree with that.
All right, let's cut it there. I'll give her credit where it's due. She kept her cool and didn't storm off the set like a lot of these strong, independent women tend to do when the questions get uncomfortable. She stuck to the standard college liberal talking points, checked all the boxes, hit the greatest hits, including, of course, Black Wall Street. And I'm not going to lie. I laughed out loud when she said her dad was a college-educated real estate investor, but somehow she was still disadvantaged. You really can't make this stuff up. Thanks for tuning in. Hit like and subscribe to help the channel. Drop a comment if you've got an opinion, and we'll see you next time.